Hey guys, it's Angie Atkinson with queenbeing.com, and today I'm going to share with you a question from a reader, and I'm going to answer it. So let's get started. All right, so today I'm going to share with you this question from Mary Cutrone, Cutrone, and she is a person on YouTube who says that she loves my energy. Thank you. Even before I've had that coffee. Thank you. Some people don't love my morning face because I'm kind of like, woo, morning. It's totally nerdy. Anyway, Mary says, I've learned so much about the narcissist abuse tactics, but I still have one question. How do they follow the same pattern? They don't go to narcissist school, but they follow the love bombing and to the final discard like she says they follow the love bombing to the final discard like it's a formula. What's up? That is an excellent question. So let's talk about it. All right. So I guess what Mary is trying to say is how is it possible that narcissists, although they're so different in so many ways, how is it possible that so many of them have the same types of patterns? Their patterns are literally identifiable. You can see them, you can feel them, you can hear them. Anyone who's been around any narcissist would recognize that the patterns are similar. You've got the overvaluation phase, the love bombing phase, and then you've got your, devalue and your discard, and it's an ongoing cycle. It's an ongoing cycle, plus all the other gaslighting, flying monkeys, etc., etc. How is it that so many different people are so identifiably narcissistic in today's society? And is it because of DNA? Is it is it genetics? Is it environmentally based? How do people become narcissists and why are their patterns so similar? Okay. We've talked before about why people become narcissists, okay? So, it pretty much breaks down to either they are a narcissist in the they are a narcissist because they were raised by one, or and they were emotionally and otherwise neglected, or controlled or pressured, or they are a narcissist because they have been put into a position to essentially be spoiled rotten brats, right? So yeah, so narcissistic personality disorder is what a percentage of them have, right? Of course, statistically speaking, researchers say that less than 1% of the population has full blown NPD, but anywhere from 2 to 16% of those people who do seek therapy also have the disorder. So we all know that narcissists typically do not seek therapy, but they tend to, in some cases, someone in their lives will demand that they seek help or risk losing them. And that's, or maybe a career issue or whatever, other privileges, things like that, that they might lose if they don't go to therapy. And of course, then there are those who are there for criminal reasons. They've committed a crime and they're diagnosed by the prison psychologist or whatever. Um, you know, but regardless of all of that, how is it that they're all the same? So we know that they might become a narcissist by their environment. Now, we're going to talk about how there is a certain physiological bit of evidence to that, okay? So I did a little research, and and I've actually written about this before. I wrote about it when it was originally released, but there was a report released a while back about how scientists had determined that they could actually see the narcissist's lack of empathy in their brain scans, you guys. So let's talk about that, shall we? So researchers used magnetic resonance imaging to scan the brains of 34 people, including 17 individuals who were diagnosed with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. Okay, and basically what they found out is that pathological narcissists actually have less gray matter in their brains, in a part of the cerebral cortex called the left anterior insula. Gray matter is actually composed of neuron cell bodies and also non-neuron cell bodies, cells that provide nutrients and energy to neutrons rather than sending and receiving information. So those people who were diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder in this group also would suffer from, and as we all know, they all do, suffer from low self esteem, feelings of inferiority, while projecting displays of arrogance and vanity, right? That's according to the American Psychiatric Association. So, yes, there is brain evidence, but the question is, if there is evidence in brain scans of narcissistic behavior, did the brain develop that way because of body chemistry, or did it develop that way because of environmental factors? Now, we do know that environmental factors have a great deal of effect on a person's psychology, obviously, and we do know that narcissism is has been proven to come from a few select circumstances, like I mentioned, either overindulgence in childhood or neglect and abuse and things like that, right? So one of, as I said, one of the major traits of narcissism is a lack of empathy. One of the most obviously defining traits. And so, according to Stefan Ropke, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, who is a professor in psychiatry in a German university, says that while these people, narcissists, are capable of kind of often are capable of kind of getting what people are thinking or feeling up to a point. I mean, as much as a normal person is, they are, yes, they can recognize it, but they choose not to, or they are outwardly not able to exhibit any compassion. Now, whether they're actually feeling it or not is another story. I personally think not, because I don't think a person who could feel compassion could treat people the way that a narcissist does. You feel me? So, yeah. Okay, here's something interesting. The left anterior insula region of the brain, which is thought to be involved with cognitive functioning and the regulation of emotion, has also been tied, interestingly enough, to the generation of compassion and empathy. So these people who do not have empathy skills, these narcissists, they actually have less gray matter in their brain, in the part of the brain that creates this, like I said. So, you know, basically what it comes down to, and I don't think that there are any answers to whether or not the chemistry is directly responsible for the change in the brain, or if the change in the brain occurs due to the circumstances in life. I mean, so here's what it comes down to. Basically, is narcissism genetically based? Is it inherited? How does it work? Scientists have been asking for years, apparently. Most researchers and mental health professionals will tell you that it's a combination of factors. Okay, so the factors include biological vulnerability, as in genetics. Do you have that less gray matter in the brain thing for the lack of empathy, perhaps? But they also include social interactions with early caregivers, like we just talked about, with whereas they are either over or under indulged, so to speak. And then of course, the psychological factors of their temperament and how things are working. So while there are studies that suggest that certain genes for narcissism or might enhance narcissism when they're inherited, there's still really truly not any full blown proof. Now, the person also needs the right environment for the narcissism to manifest. So there could be a person who is born with narcissistic tendencies who never becomes a narcissist because they're raised by a parent who does that in a healthy way. But almost always, narcissism begins in childhood, one way or another. So some studies say whether it's genetic or not, most of them will either include trauma or abuse as in early childhood, or overindulgent parenting and genetic predilection toward NPD. And then, of course, there are those who are born with narcissistic parents. And so, again, I think it's a combination of environment and body chemistry, DNA or genetics. But then the other question that Mary asked is, well, why do they all follow the same patterns? And the answer, as far as I can tell, is quite simply that they all have a similar personality disorder. There's not a better answer for that. It's very confusing how they are so common. And I guess a lot of different you know, personality disorders have similar, they will have similar patterns, but this one in particular is just insanely well defined, which is so unusual in so many other situations. So I don't know if that's a full answer to your question, Mary, but that's the best I've got for you right now. I will keep researching it, and if I find better information for you, I will make another video in the near future. All right. Thank you so much for your question. And everybody else, if you have questions, comments, concerns, things you want to know about, please feel free to leave me a comment below, and I will either answer it in a video or in a comment. Also, if you're looking for further information on narcissistic abuse or narcissistic abuse recovery, hit up queenbeing.com. And if you're looking for help with, well, if you want to read one of my books, four of which are specifically about narcissistic abuse recovery, and the rest of which are written from that same perspective as someone who was healing from and needed to heal from narcissistic abuse recovery, those books are at booksangiewrote.com. And you can visit Narcissistic Abuse Recovery online. That's narcissisticabuserecovery.online, all one URL. And that is where you can set up a one on one appointment with me if you like, or join one of my new group coaching sessions. And you can join SPAN, which is support for people affected by narcissistic abuse in relationships, at queenbeing.com/SPAN. That group now has nearly 2,000 members, and they are amazing and supportive, and we're working on some projects to help individual members as well. So I'm very excited about that. And of course, if you are interested in getting my free 5-day email course designed for narcissistic abuse survivors, visit narcissismsupportcoach.com. And I think that's everything I need to tell you today. I feel like I'm missing something. Anyway, so I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for letting me be a part of your life today and a part of your recovery. Talk to you soon.